Hello. What's up, guys? This is your girl, Megan. Welcome back to the Head Astro Queen once more. If you are a brand new member to my channel, I want to say welcome. Welcome, all of my new subscribers. I see that I done hit 2K finally. Well, I said finally, but I've only really been active on this channel since September. So we're talking about less than a year, 2,000 subscribers. And I really appreciate it. And that's on period. I love y'all, each and every one of y'all. I literally do not take y'all for granted. I know it sounds cliche, but just the fact that there are people who subscribe to my channel to hear my interpretation of just like astrology and different scenarios is very, it's humbling, and I'm so thankful for it. So I am going to be doing a free reading, a free full natal chart interpretation for one lucky subscriber. I'm going to kick off like the giveaway, so to speak, sometime maybe over the weekend or within the next week. I'll tell you what you need to do in order to be selected, okay? And so just be on the lookout for that. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the topic of today's video. So as you can see by the title and the thumbnail, I wanted to kind of continue along in that same vein of B2K and talk about somebody else that I have gotten a couple of requests over the past few months to do. So Miss Jhene Aiko, I don't know if I'm saying her name right, but whatever, that's kind of what I've always called her. She hasn't she has some stripes in the game. A lot of people kind of have known of her since maybe 2013, 2014, some even 15, 16. I've been a Jhene Aiko fan before. She kind of adopted this flower child kind of persona. I mean, it might be who she really is, because, I mean, she was super young when she first got involved into the entertainment industry. So maybe that's just really who she is. But I remember her back in the day, before she was a vegan, when she used to pose on those covers, the Word Up covers with B2K, and they had like this little excerpt on the inside of the magazine where it's like it'll tell you little tidbits of like facts, little known facts about each group member. And hers was her favorite food is honey barbecue wings. I don't know why I remember stuff like that. Just, some of her early songs. Like, I've always really respected her artistically. She's always had an amazing singing voice, and I really admire her over the years. Although I do feel like lately her music has become a little one-dimensional. I still love her. Like, I still love her. I still listen to her music. And so, yeah, I thought it would be a pretty good idea to get into her chart, especially given that there's a lot of mystery surrounding her relationship with the rapper Big Sean, because they got together under pretty precarious circumstances. Then allegedly they broke up, but then they're still friends. But then are they really together? So there's that. I want to get into all of that and just kind of, I really have no objective with this reading. I just want to have fun and just go over different parts and different layers of her life. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. So Jhene was born on March the 16th, 1988. Let me make sure I got the date right, because I don't need y'all in my comment section chewing me out like my last video. Like, damn, a girl can't misspeak. Like, it's the right chart. Sometimes I just kind of get ahead of myself, and I'm looking at several birth charts a day, so I cross up the date sometimes, but it's the correct chart before y'all start with y'all shit. She was born at 11:51 p.m., which makes her a Pisces sun and moon, and also a Sagittarius rising. So she has a lot of Piscean energy, especially with her Mercury being in Pisces also. Lots of Piscean energy, and also a lot of Jupiter influence in her chart, especially with Sagittarius being governed by Jupiter, and then Pisces is co-ruled by Jupiter. So whatever planet rules your ascendant sign is what a lot of people call your chart ruler, meaning yeah, you have a lot of different influences in the chart. However, everything that happens to you in your life is going to kind of coincide under a certain theme. And that theme is going to be based on whatever planet that's ruling your chart. So, with Jupiter being a planet of spirituality, religion, even wisdom, higher minded ideals, a lot of what Jhené experiences in this lifetime is going to be all about helping her develop spiritually. All right. And a lot of that is going to be by way of music and creativity as well. So, with her being a Pisces sun, and I'm using the Placidus method this go round. People who know me, or if you've received a reading from me in the past, you know that I typically love whole signs for different reasons that I will describe in a completely different video, because it's a different video for a different day. But I like to switch it up. I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. So with Jhené's sun being in her fourth house of Pisces, and technically it's intercepted by Aries as well. So she has some Aries energy signature there, but for the most part, Aries sun individuals are highly artistic, very artistically inclined, with the natural ability to tap into the right side of the brain, which reinforces Jhené being this incredibly gifted, not even just singer, but writer. You know what I mean? She writes poems and all kinds of stuff. So there's that. These people are often endowed with creative talents or abilities such as music, and there's also an element of religion and spirituality that tends to come into play, especially by way of the mother, because we're dealing with the fourth house here. And then she's also a Pisces moon. The moon deals with the mother and naturally governs the fourth house. So yeah, she could have had a very religious upbringing. Now, getting back to her being a Pisces, especially the women, typically fall in one or two categories. They could be the hippie type, or they can fall into like the glamorous princess archetype. But both types of Pisces women or Piscean women deal with being able to tap into reality, or they can have issues with being in the here and now, if that makes sense. Because a lot of times they find reality too hard to deal with, which is why addiction could be a huge issue, especially with people who have their sun and Mercury in Pisces, which Jhené does, because it can make the mind very sensitive towards substances. And ironically enough, Jhené has spoken on many occasions, and even in her songs, about how she loves weed. And she revealed, and I got this from a Wikipedia article, Aiko revealed that whilst writing music, she enjoys being high in order to use the feeling as inspiration, and that for the entire writing and recording process of her debut mixtape, Selling Souls, she was under the influence of cannabis. Now, I'm not saying that she's an addict, like full stop. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that she likes escapism, and that's definitely like slick her birthright, with her being a Pisces North Node too. But we're going to get to that later on in the reading. That's just what it is, okay? That Jupiter influence, even with her being a Sagittarius ascendant, Jupiter takes everything and makes it bigger. You know, they can get carried away. And Pisces and Sagittarius are mutable signs. Mutable signs tend to like get carried away with themselves, so to speak. So yeah, she could definitely be the type to look towards escapism, and a part of that escapism could even include music, okay? Because people use different things to escape. But yeah, there's that. Also, with her Pisces moon being at the 16th degree, so technically it's in her third house. This could deal with Jhené. I can't speak today, y'all. Blame it on the retrograde, Mercury retrograde. This could deal with Jhené feeling isolated during childhood, but it also reinforces a lot of those creative and artistic abilities that are present with her sun in Pisces, right? being musically inclined and yada yada. It also supports her being involved in the arts as a child, because the third house deals with grades K through 12, and she was a child, well, maybe not a child star, but she's been in the entertainment business even from a small child, as well as her siblings. So interestingly enough, the third house is naturally governed by Mercury, which means it deals with none other than siblings. This placement could also grant someone who has siblings that are artistically inclined or in the entertainment business as well. And she does. She has a bunch of sisters, but the only sister that I know that really kind of semi made it in the industry is Jamila. I think that's her name. She was in some type of group, and then she has like little singles every now and then that if you really keep your ear close to the streets, you might hear. The last song I've heard from Jamila was that song Disrespectful with Trey Songz, and that was a few years ago, and she's a really good singer as well. So maybe we'll do her chart for a different day. So there's that. With the moon dealing with the mother, there could be issues establishing boundaries. And typically Pisces moon people could have relationships with their moms that could be very highly cherished or straight up problematic, okay? As Pisces also deals with victimization. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jhené had her fair share of family issues. They could even find themselves being victimized as it pertains to theft, lies, fraud, and accusations, and especially amongst family members. I mean, that's just what it is. And it also grants a very religious family, which I found this in the Wikipedia article as well. I thought this was interesting. Keep in mind, her moon is at the 16th degree of Pisces, and Jhené was baptized at the age of 16 at this evangelical, shut up, y'all, don't laugh at me, evangelical Pentecostal Foursquare Church is the name of it. So yeah, her moon at the 16th degree of Pisces can absolutely indicate her being baptized at the age of 16 at that Pentecostal church. So, the degrees in astrology and numerology can get that literal. So there's that. Her Mercury is at the 1st degree of Pisces, which once again reinforces a lot of those Piscean sun traits. And it can also, once again, with Mercury dealing with siblings, it deals with a sibling that has an illness or a disability, which is interesting because she had a brother who passed away from brain cancer a few years ago, and she's very public about it. She wrote a song about it, and which isn't surprising either, because Mercury in Pisces makes a naturally creative mind, and it can make somebody who literally spends their day-to-day life writing music and can be inspired by the things that happen around them. So yeah, there's that. I thought that was kind of interesting. And there could be a lot of sorrow involving siblings. So I don't know what her relationship is like with her other siblings, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were very multi-layered and there were some issues going on there. Now, Mercury in Pisces can also produce a need to have a constructive outlet to reduce that addict-like behavior that I was talking about earlier on. And also, well, we're going to get into that with her South Node, with her lunar node placements. I ain't going to talk about that right now. Mercury in Pisces can also create a very soft voice, communication voice. Even with her singing, Jhené has a very you know what I mean. Her voice is very soft, and it's like a whimpering singing. That's definitely Mercury and Pisces. it can create somebody who speaks in a song singing kind of way, or their music is very like, she does that sing talk kind of thing. So there's that. Mercury and Pisces can also create at somebody who goes to school for performing arts. And I believe in one of the articles it was talking about her going to some type of vocal school or something of that nature, okay? So there's that. Also, this could give or grant many nicknames. I don't know like what Jhené's family calls her, but I wouldn't be surprised if she went by a couple of different names. Also, Mercury in Pisces, especially in the third house, can be terrible for driving, and it could produce car accidents by way of just somebody just being like not paying attention, really, which is funny. Well, not funny, but it's interesting because I saw in the Wikipedia article that, and I'm quoting it, on August 27, 2013, Aiko was involved in a car accident in Los Angeles along with her daughter, Namiko, older sister, Miyoko, and her daughter's father, Orion. Aiko suffered a broken wrist, a chipped tooth, and had stitches in her chin. Her daughter was unharmed in the accident. Yeah, that could absolutely be attributed to her Pisces Mercury in the third house, period. Also, with this being the Placidus system, Aries intercepts that third house. Aries can also, because it's governed by Mars, it can also make somebody very prone towards motor accidents. And that can result in kind of like a tendency to be very impulsive on the road, right? Make brash mistakes, and these people can have quite a bit of road rage. I don't know who was driving, so I guess that's important to take into account as well, but that energy signature is there. Like, all of that is, I can see how that happened. Her Venus as well as her Jupiter are both in her 5th house, technically. I mean, intercepted by her 6th house as well, but they're in her 5th house of Taurus, okay? Her Venus is at the 12th degree of Taurus, Jupiter at the 1st degree of Taurus. And Venus in Taurus can, first of all, it's dignified here, which means Venus likes being in Taurus because it naturally governs the sign Taurus. But that doesn't necessarily mean it has to play out in a positive way. But if not, like, negatively aspected, or if it's not jacked up, it could definitely grant like lots of financial security, okay? Jhené could be out here living high off the hog, but if I take a look at the aspects, I typically like doing my aspects like after I go through the planetary placements. But her Venus is opposing her Pluto and Scorpio, which is also at that 12th degree. And the 12th degree deals with victimization and sacrifice. It could deal with some drastic highs and lows as it pertains to her finances. So she might have the tendency to bring in a lot of money, but then she could lose money. She could lose a lot of money. And with her Pluto being, technically in both her 11th and 12th house, well, not her Pluto, but Scorpio is in her 11th and 12th house. It could deal with her being indebted to somebody very powerful. It can deal with her being surrounded by dark forces or influences, primarily within the industry, okay? Like I said, her being indebted to those people and yada yada. So that's something to think about. But back to her Venus in the 5th house of Taurus, it definitely reinforces her artistic abilities, her being a great singer. Venus in Taurus also produces an amazing singing voice. And it could grant, as far as relationships go, could grant relationships that are built to last even if they're unhealthy. Big Sean also has the same getup because they're actually born a few days apart, like same year, everything. So they have a lot of the same planetary placements. Like they slick are like the same person, but he has some other issues, which we'll get into later. But with both of them having their Venus and Jupiter in their fifth house of Taurus, it could definitely deal with a rather. It could deal with a relationship that could be based on security, financial security, or a relationship where they realize, like, okay, we work together, like we work well artistically. They could bond over their artistic relationship, and actually, this is supported by them having a album. They came out with a music, like an album together, and I thought they were like creating a group, and I don't know what happened to that, but I think it was called like Twin 88 or something. Y'all drop down in the comment section, clarify that for me. But I remember hearing it though, and it was really, really good. So yeah, this could support being with a partner in the music industry. Venus and Taurus, because Taurus is all about work, so they could be likely to meet partners within the music industry, which is funny because before Big Sean, she was actually, Jhené was married to a music producer. So, that's definitely Venus and Taurus. And a lot of it, like I said, could be based around financial stability, just straight up. Or partners that you feel like you can make money with. And I wouldn't be surprised if she's still messing with Big Sean, or, even if they put on like a different front to the public, like I wouldn't be surprised if they still deal with one another behind closed doors, because that Taurus energy does not like change. You know what I mean? And these people can stick with the same person for a very, very long time. And that's just what it is. Also, especially with this Venus opposing Pluto and Scorpio, there could be a lot of like possessive and jealous tendencies in the relationship. Honestly, I would not be surprised if she's dealt with domestic abuse at a certain point, and this could or could not include Big Sean. It just is what it is. I'm just going by what I see here. So there's that. Also, with her Jupiter in Taurus here, it reinforces, like I said, those musical talents, but it also deals with somebody having a very long-standing and enduring career, which she's had. You know what I mean? Like I said, she's not new to this. She's been in the game for a very, very long time, even from back in the early 2000s. Jupiter in Taurus, especially in the fifth house, can also create a very clear set of values and standards. And it can, like I said, bring lots of money, but with that opposition from her Venus and Pluto, it could go both ways. She can make it, and then she can fall on hard times. So that's just what it is. Or she can find herself in debt too. So if she were to be into astrology, which I think she is for other reasons I'll get into, I would advise her to be mindful of that. Venus in the fifth house, especially of Taurus, could also deal with someone having a female firstborn, which makes sense because she has a daughter. She only has one kid that I know of. And technically, Taurus also, like I said, intercepts her sixth house. Her sixth house. The sixth house deals with work as well, so that reinforces her working in the music industry. So there's that. Her Mars is at the 16th degree of Capricorn, which reinforces her being somebody, or it deals with her rather, being somebody who is very status driven, career and recognition driven, and somebody who is very preoccupied with their reputation, which is why I personally feel like she keeps a lot of her personal relationships, especially as it pertains to Big Sean and whatever, she keeps that a secret. But it can also deal with her dealing with men, number one, in the industry, but number two, dealing with men that she could kind of like there being a sense of opportunism there when she's dealing with men, and that's just what it is on that one. So getting into her aspects, because I mean, I ain't even about to get into like the outer planets because it is what it is. But real quick, her Saturn is in Capricorn, and it's dignified there because Saturn does govern Capricorn. But with her Saturn in her first house, it could cancel out that Jupiter influence, because usually Jupiter, Sagittarius ascendants, or people who do have Jupiter in their first house can be kind of big. Saturn is very restrictive and it makes everything small. So that does deal with her like having a very small and compact, petite kind of body. So moving on to her aspects. So her sun is squaring her Chiron. Her Chiron is at the 23rd degree of Gemini in her 7th house. So, number one, it deals with her having very dysfunctional relationships, and her having dysfunctional relationships with men particularly. And it can also make her naturally selfish. It reinforces this theme of opportunism there, especially with her Mars in the 2nd house of Capricorn, and then her sun is in the 4th house of Aries. So there's that, as well as a tendency to lose interest and maybe even cheat, especially if it can bolster her position within a power structure. Now, with Cancer intercepting her 7th house, there could also be issues with the family, as well as even some fertility issues on her part. Chiron deals, it's called the wounded healer, and it deals with areas of your personality or your conscious or subconscious mind that are extraordinary, but it can also point towards extreme dysfunction if negatively aspected. So with Chiron, her Chiron to Gemini squaring her sun, like I said, this could produce some very dysfunctional relationships with men, but it can also make her a liar. It can make Jhene a grade A liar, and a liar without a conscience at that. And it can create somebody who lives 2 different lives. It can create someone who either she attracts men who cheat, or she could be a cheater, which is interesting because there was a scandal surrounding her relationship with Big Sean, because they were saying that while she and Big Sean were dating, she was married to that producer guy. And the producer guy was like, basically, I thought we were cool, and I look up and she dating Big Sean and she da-da-da-da-da. So that's definitely within her character. Looking at this aspect. Her sun is also squaring her Uranus. Her Uranus is in her, what is this? Her Uranus is in her 1st house of Sagittarius. And, this could deal with her, well, number one, being a very spiritually focused, even quirky person. But it can also deal with her being, I wouldn't be surprised if she was into astrology, especially with Aquarius, because, Uranus governs Aquarius, and Aquarius is on her 2nd house, is on her 2nd house cusp. And the 2nd house deals with advice. So I wouldn't even be surprised if she goes to astrologers. Hey girl, just in case you do, girl, my email is astrowerld, ASTROWERLD @gmail.com. We can make some shake. But Sun square Uranus could also make her very impulsive, especially when making changes involving her body, because that Sagittarius is sitting there on her ascendant, which makes me think about her getting Big Sean's name tattooed on her. Not even her name, his face. She got the nigga's face tattooed on her arm, and I remember it was a big thing. Everybody was looking at her crazy, and that's kind of when we figured that something was going on in their relationship, because she just got up and I was gonna say deleted the tattoo, but she covered it up. So there's that. Her sun is also squaring her Saturn, which makes her very career focused. Like I said earlier, it reinforces her being reputation focused. It can also deal with her being under strict management, particularly maybe even earlier on in life, or having very strict parents. It could also produce depression, especially with Saturn being in its home sign of Capricorn. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And this theme of like mental health issues is reinforced with her moon squaring that Chiron in Gemini. Her Pisces moon squaring Chiron in Gemini can absolutely deal with mental health issues all day. Jhené might be a little touched, to put it mildly. That's just, yeah. Her Mercury is also trining Chiron. Her Mercury in the third house, like I said, reinforces her being an amazing writer and artist. And that influence from Aquarius, because the Aquarius is in her third house as well, can make her a musical genius. So when it's forming a trine to that Chiron and Gemini, it can grant a very talented and gifted and, like I said, even like a genius type of writer, somebody who's very futuristic and forward thinking and progressive in the way that they handle their artistry, which is funny because I saw another excerpt or an article in Wikipedia that was describing the way that Jhené writes her music. You know, you have some people who sit down with a pen and paper and they just, write their music and they're done with it. The article reads, Aiko writes music every day, often writing lines or a poem, and begins to add them to melodies. But it also says she describes her writing style as freestyle, where she says how she's feeling, taking a day or up to a month to complete. And during the recording of one of her albums, Aiko opted to freestyle when writing the album. And she would have a beat, she'll sit down, and she'll just come up with words off the top of her head. And when they finally make sense, she'll either write them down or just lay it over a track, which is something that I guess you could say is a little bit unprecedented when it comes like to the traditional writing style, right? So yeah, it could give her a super agile and fast moving mind artistically. Her moon is squaring her ascendant, which makes her relationship with her mom that much more detrimental. Like I said, if it's a good relationship, then it will yield a lot of positive influence over her personal life. But if it's a negative influence, it could really affect her in a very detrimental way. It can also cause her to adapt behaviors that are like mimic other people's behavior. So it could create a bit of a follower, or make her a little bit of a follower to a certain extent. It could also make her extremely moody and even somebody who could be rather naive, all right, or easily manipulated, especially as it pertains to men. Now, when it comes to Big Sean in particular, what I will say that is, because I pulled up his chart and I'm not going to go into detail about his chart. However, like I said, they were more a week apart or less than a week apart. And they have a lot of similarities in their chart. There are some key differences that I feel like explain issues that he has majorly. But when it comes to the two of them, Big Sean's sun is in Jhené's fifth house, or is intercepted in Jhené's fifth house, which it could absolutely make him the love of her life. And I wouldn't be surprised if she viewed him to be that way. And yeah, it also grants a very highly sexual relationship with him, especially with him being an Aries. And both of them have their Juno, which is the asteroid that deals with your relationship, in their fifth house of Aries, or fourth/fifth house of Aries, which could have made their relationship very intense, very passionate. But it even could like give way to certain power struggles, you know what I mean? I wouldn't even be surprised if Big Sean had a very a caveman, barbaric type of attitude when it comes to women, you know what I mean? Especially with him having his Venus and Jupiter and Taurus. So it could have even been a relationship to where she served him, or you know what I mean. He called the shots, or he made a lot of the driving decisions in that relationship, and she just supported him. So there's that. But they definitely have a lot of commonalities. Also, both of them have their Venus trining their Mars, which means to a certain degree, they both saw a good business opportunity coming from this relationship to one degree or another. Now, finally wrapping this up with her lunar nodal placements, Jhene is a Virgo South Node, Pisces North Node. So as I was stating earlier, this gives her pretty much the birthright to be this super creative genius, if you will. You know what I mean? It definitely deals with her being an artist in the industry, but she might find that success for her might be particularly difficult because a lot of people, especially with this prominent Piscean influence, they can't live life for themselves. So if she's not giving back unto others or helping other people, she might find her growth to be stunted. You know what I mean? And especially with her South Node falling in her ninth, technically, well, you could say her ninth house, but there's Virgo, and then it's also intercepted by Leo, and Leo is the sign of the celebrity. You know what I mean? So, and it also deals with ego, and it's literally the antithesis of what a lot of very prominent 12th house / Pisces people have going on. Like, literally, anytime you live out of your ego, you're going to find yourself in some very sticky situations. So yeah, definitely. And I feel like she's lived up to that North Node. I mean, I don't know her personally, but it does seem like she's a very giving, charitable person. Also, another piece of interesting information, her being a Virgo South Node definitely reinforces her being a vegan. Virgo does deal with the 6th house, and it comes with like a lot of peculiar like diet / workout fixations, especially Virgo South Nodes. They can have very particular diets, very particular things that they eat and don't eat. They could be very fixated on maintaining a healthy body, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, and things of that nature. So there is that. And yeah, before I make this video too long, this pretty much concludes my reading on Miss Jhene Aiko. So y'all drop down in the comment section. Let me know what you thought of the reading, as well as any suggestions you may have for future celebrity birth chart readings. And as always, make sure you practice unconditional self-love so that you can love others. And until next time, I holla.